Hi everyone, thanks for watching the Commander's Brew here on YouTube. If you like what you're seeing around here, hitting subscribe helps us out a lot. If you want to get involved directly, you can check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Commander's Brew. And if you donate there, you can jump in on our Discord and help us brew these decks directly. You can get in on some spell table games with the community and all kinds of other stuff. So check it out, patreon.com/Commander's Brew. But without further ado, we're going to get to this week's deck tech. All right, so Sean, what are we... We're working with the real partners, the true partners that we have available to us today, right?
Yes. So, and the main one I was most excited about, most drawn to, is Krark the Thumbless. I got a spell slinger heart in me, right? I love this kind of thing. Krark the Thumbless is 1 and a red for a legendary goblin wizard, 2/2. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, the spell goes back to your hand. It's off the stack. It never gets to be resolved. If you win the flip, copy the spell, and you get to choose new targets for the copy. So obviously you want to think blue for a spell slinging kind of thing, but we ended up actually also including some green, and we teamed up with Kydele, Chosen of Krufix. 2 green blue, legendary human wizard, 2/3. Tap, add colorless to your mana pool for each card that you've drawn this turn. So if we're... Kydele always taps for 1. Presumably, you've always drawn your 1 card for the turn you're in. And Krark, we will sometimes have to recast spells. The spell will come back to our hand. We'll have to recast it. But the whole theory behind this deck is, what if all we care about are whenever you cast an instant or sorcery triggers? So we don't care if Krark resolves it or doesn't. If he doesn't resolve it, we get triggers. If he does resolve it, we get triggers and double the spell. So either way, we're fine with it. That's the plan for the deck. I've told you who the commanders were. That's the overall plan. So let's set the scene. Obviously, we need some cheap instants and sorceries, and green gives us a great roster of single mana tutor up a basic land type of spells. For example, Caravan Vigil. Single grain sorcery, search your library for a basic, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. This one also has Morbid, so you get to put that card onto the battlefield instead of putting it into your hand if a creature died this turn. So early game, where we've got a handful of these, we've got a bunch of these in the deck. We can start casting them before Krark comes out to guarantee getting those land drops. Once Krark is out, we can use them for a single green, try to cast it. If it works, 2 lands out of the deck. If it doesn't work, okay, that's a trigger. And now for 1 green, I can try to cast it again. And if it doesn't work again, for 1 green, I can try to cast it again, as much as I have mana for it. Pretty cool. So let's talk about some of these on-cast things. We're going for tokens. Andy, give us this little roster here.
Starting us off here is Talrand, Sky Summoner, 2 blue. For the legendary Merfolk Wizard, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 2/2 blue Drake creature token with flying. He himself is a 2/2. Obviously, very good with all of the casting things. Like we cast a spell, we get a little 2/2.
Even if it comes back to our
exactly.
hand.
So just again, it's the on cast, right? That's what's very important there. Next is a card that we actually brewed a deck around a long time ago. And I always remember it. It's a really neat card. Fable of Wolf and Owl. 3 and then 3 Simic hybrids. So 6 mana total. For the enchantment that says, whenever you play a green spell, you may... And I'll read the oracle. Whenever you cast a green spell, you may create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. Whenever you cast a blue spell, you may create a 1/1 blue bird creature token with flying. So yeah. Whenever we cast, that's all that matters. And then finally, Murmuring Mystic, which is very similar to Talrand. It's the 3 and a blue 1/5 that says whenever you cast instant or sorcery, you get a 1/1 blue bird with flying.
Yeah. So, those aren't the only of them. We're not talking about Young Pyromancer, but he's in here too. So there's lots of ways where we're just like, I'm just trying to cast spells with Krark. If it resolves, cool, I get 2. If it doesn't, cool, I get a bunch of birds and drakes and wolves and things. So like we're building a very wide board this way.
Nice.
And of course we want to make them cheap, so we're running cards like Goblin Electromancer, green-red for a Goblin Wizard, 2/2 instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Unfortunately, this doesn't line up with those single green ones. You can't make anything cheaper if it doesn't have any colorless mana on it. So there are I mean, we have a lot of single mana spells in the deck, I'll be honest with you. So there are quite a few dead cards in terms of Goblin and Electromancer, but the ones that aren't dead, we're going to be very grateful to have. So I think it's worth running.
Right. Well, vegetables.
Yeah, let's get some vegetables, right? This is every deck needs to have some renewal and some extra stuff. So, like, of course, we're running Artifact Mutation. It's just a great example that works in this strategy. Red green for an instant, destroy target artifact. It can't be regenerated, and you create 1 green Saproling creature tokens, where X is that artifact's converted mana cost. Again, if this works, I get to destroy 2 different artifacts and get, I don't know, 8 Saprolings, 7 Saprolings, just for my 2 mana investment. But if it fails, hopefully I've also got all those birds and cats and things that were coming along with it anyway.
Cats. Another one you got in here is Spreading Renewal, 2 and a green for the sorcery with Convoke. And you choose one on this one. You create a 2/2 green and white elf knight creature token with vigilance, or you destroy target artifact or enchantment.
Right, and so just to let you know how Convoke works, we're go wide deck, so I can spend 0 mana on this by tapping 3 of my creatures, and if it doesn't work, I still get my if I can trigger 3 more creatures,
That's
one
fun.
of them being the green cat from Wolf and Owl, or the green wolf for I call them cats. As long as I have Wolf and Owl out, and I can get a green wolf, because one of them has to be green to cover the green mana cost. As long as I can get 3 tokens, I can cast it again by convoking those new tokens.
But don't you have they can't have Summoning Sickness, right? They have to have haste.
No, that's not true. Not for convoke.
I think it is, because am I wrong? No?
No, convoke doesn't
Convoke gets
register.
around that thing where
Yeah, because the ability isn't on the creature itself. Like, the creature doesn't carry the ability, tap me to do something.
Right.
Convoke just asks you to tap things.
Okay, so I thought it was like, like I know that there's those abilities that say like tap an untapped thing you control, do a thing. That gets around Summoning Sickness. But for some reason I thought that the fact that they were providing mana, it was different, but that's not how it works. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, they're not technically providing
Yeah, they're
mana.
not. You're right. They're just each creature you tap while casting the spell pays for 1.
So, and if you end up copying this with Krark, you have to pick the same mode as the copy, right? Like it goes on the stack with its mode.
Yes, I was about to say that too.
So you'll either get 2 night tokens, or you'll destroy 2 artifacts or enchantments. And then one more just for our draw. Here's a great example of a good draw card: Perilous Research. It's 1 and a blue, or just blue if we have our mana reducing effect. Draw 2 cards, then sacrifice a permanent. A key part of this card is the sacrificing a permanent is not part of the cast. We only have to do that when it resolves. Unfortunately, if we copy it, we have to sacrifice 2 permanents.
Yeah.
But when we're creating a ton of permanents, this is a very minor effect. And again, we're happy to fail to resolve these. I love it when I try to cast it with Krark and it doesn't work. That's fine. That's the point.
Yeah, if this basically, like, if you have some tokens though, this just reads like sacrifice a token, draw 2 cards, which I think you would do in just about any deck, right?
Yeah. So that's the vegetables. The scene is set. We know what the deck is all about. So let's get into some of these Mattismen.
Working on a
Neat.
Right on. Neat move number 1.
Starting with a controversial one.
Yeah.
Some people hate this card. Some people love this card. Andy, why don't you take it and see if you can... the Discord team helped me realize how effective this card is in this deck.
Right.
I was like, I'm kind of out on this card because I'm like, it causes a little bit too many bad feelings. But why don't you take this one?
Yeah, it's Possibility Storm. So it's 3 red for the enchantment that says, whenever a player casts a spell from their hand, that player exiles it. Then exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a card that shares a card type with it. That player may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Then they put all cards exiled with Possibility Storm on the bottom of the library in a random order. Now, I already figured, like, I'm pretty familiar with this card because I played it in my old Mael deck because it was a really great way to, like, lock people out of doing what they wanted to do while still letting them do some things, right? But Mael never cared about it. She could just throw creatures on the battlefield. So you have Krark out. You go to cast one of your spells. Possibility Storm. Basically, like, you still cast it, but then you go to the next thing that is that shares the type with it, and then you cast that. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that whether or not let's say Krark, whatever, you get to double it. So you get the cast, and then you get the second cast also for any triggers on stuff like Talrand and Murmuring Mystic. But if you send it back to your hand, you still get that second thing that Possibility Storm looks for, right?
That's what I understand. I need to figure it out, though, because it does say whenever you cast a spell from your hand, you exile it. So I don't know if Krark can pull it back if the Krark's coin flip fails.
Oh, that's a good question, because then it says you put all things exiled with Possibility Storm on the bottom of their owner's library in random order. Which one happens first, basically, right?
I mean, in any case, we're going to be generating tokens at that point. Like, we're not going to resolve Possibility Storm until we're in a position to do this.
Yeah.
And most of our instants and sorceries are one anyway, so like and there's a lot of redundancy, so we're kind of okay with that. But it's up to you. This is the grown test one.
Kind of the problem with this card is that you only ever play this card after you're kind of set up, and when you are set up, it's good. But beforehand, it's kind of it's a little bit of a dead card. But I mean, there's lots of cards like that.
So getting that one out of the way, this one's pretty neat too. It's just Sprout Swarm. I've always loved this card. It's another Convoke card. It's 1 and a green to create a 1/1 green sapling creature token, and it has Convoke, so you can tap 2 creatures. But it also has buyback 3. So for 5 mana, it comes back to your hand after you resolve it. So if we can Convoke by tapping 5 creatures, it goes on the stack. Krark's ability goes. If we succeed, we get 2 saplings, and it comes back to our hand because of buyback. If it fails, it just comes back to our hand because of Krark. So, and those 2 saplings can assist in casting it again. We just need 3 more creatures. So we're back in the position where if we can make 3 creatures, the 2 that Sprout Swarm makes plus the new 3, we can loop this a few times. And I tested this out. This card does work. If you get a little bit lucky, your board can increase by like 6 or 7, like a dozen creatures in one like end step just before your turn begins. It's a fantastic card.
In the middle of that, you conked out on me.
Oh no.
Yeah. So
I can start out from Sprout Storm quickly.
Just
I'll start from Sprout Storm.
I'm just gonna write the timing of that. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
I want to talk about Sprout Swarm. 1 and a green can put a 1/1 green sapling creature token into play, or we can buy it back for an additional 3, so it's 5 mana total. And it has Convoke. We can tap 5 creatures and pay nothing mana-wise. And if Krark fails, it comes back to our hand. But if it succeeds, we get 2 saplings, and it still comes back to our hand because of the buyback. Now we've got those 2 extra saplings, plus maybe a couple of tokens from our token generators. Let's try it again. Let's try it again. Let's try it again. This is a card that allows us to generate a ton of tokens on an end step if we get a little bit lucky with Krark.
This is one that feels like it's an auto move. Krark's Thumb, 2 mana for the legendary artifact. If you would flip a coin, flip 2 coins and ignore 1. And pair that up with Submerge, 4 and a blue for an instant that says if an opponent controls a forest and you control an island, you may play Submerge without paying its mana cost. Put target creature on top of its owner's library. So like you can play this for free, which is pretty sweet, right? And it's an opponent, right? It doesn't have to be the one that you're targeting their stuff. So that's obviously in Commander, that's huge. And we can just guarantee it, not basically, but like come pretty close to guaranteeing to hitting this, to doubling up on this. And it would.
But that's not the move. The move is we want to fail on purpose.
What I was going to say was if you fail it though.
Yeah.
Because you choose which one, you choose one of the flips, right?
Yeah.
So you're picking the fail on purpose so that you can free get all of those tokens from
Yes.
Murmuring Mystic and all that kind of stuff. That's wild.
Yeah. So like
So you can just
if you
keep
so,
you can just keep playing that. That's infinite. Well, not infinite because you might hit one where you succeed on both, right?
it's true. It's true.
It's
I
not
think it's
infinite.
like 25%. You have a 25% chance of failing or
Right.
succeeding in this case.
One thing I wanted to just point out here is that during our set review, especially, I was like stoked about Krark's Thumb, and I was like, hey man, why not Krark's other thumb? Why not get them both in there, right? You know, we can use it. It's a silver bordered card, but like, who cares? That's because I totally forgot what Krark's other thumb does, and it's about dice rolling. It is not about
Yeah.
coin flipping at all. So just want to bring
No.
that up right now. And now
No.
let's move on.
Okay, I want to talk about a couple of just some cards that do a ton of damage, and a couple of them are win conditions. First, I just want to talk about MVP Lightning Bolt, single red instant, 3 damage to any target. Again, for a single mana, as long as we have red mana, we can keep putting this on the stack. Every time it fails, we're getting something, and if it succeeds, that's 6 damage anywhere we want. Let's look at something like Shrine of Burning Rage. 2 generic for an artifact at the beginning of your upkeep or whenever you cast a red spell.
Nice.
Remember Lightning Bolt? If I might end up casting it 4 times before it resolves, I can put a charge counter on this, and I can pay 3 and tap, sacrifice Shrine of Burning Rage, and it does damage to any target equal to the number of charge counters on it. So Krark can get this to big charges very quickly. Maybe if you're unlucky and that you succeed every time and you don't get that many charges, it's still got a lot of potential on it.
I love that this deck is relying on the fail a lot. That's fun.
Yeah, that's kind of the fun. That feels very Krark to me, right?
Yeah.
Like Krark fails so many times. And then this card is another MVP, Aria of Flame. It's a new one from Modern Horizons. 2 and a red for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent gains 10 life. That sounds bad. However, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a verse counter on this, and then it deals damage equal to the number of verse counters on it to target player or planeswalker. We're casting like 6 or 7 spells in a turn because a lot of them cost 1 or end up costing 1, and we're counting on failing a couple of times, so we're just putting them back on the stack over and over.
Wow, very cool.
This card does a ton of damage.
Do the other ones work like this too, like the Sphinx Bone Wand and stuff like that?
You know what? I didn't put in Sphinx Bone 1 because Aria of Flame, I believe, does the job so much
It
better
does.
coming down at 3 instead
Yeah.
of 7. So let me look that up while you take this next card.
Yeah, despite the 10 life, I agree with you. I think it's just like much better to get that down at 3 mana as opposed to 7, because like you'll cast the Sphinx Bone Wand and then you just like can't do anything else for that turn. Okay.
FYI, Sphinx Bone 1 would work the same way.
Okay, well that's good to have. Another one here, Soulblade Djinn, 3 blue for the creature Djinn, 4/3 flying. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. It kind of gives the whole team prowess basically.
Yeah.
So very good.
I don't need to explain to you how powerful that can be on this board.
Yeah, especially we get all those flying tokens, the drakes and the birds. I mean, you're laughing there.
Okay, Andy, that was a small thing. I want to give you these next pair of cards. These are surprises and discoveries for sure. You should take these 2.
All right, Twinning Staff, 3 mana for the artifact. That it says if you would copy a spell 1 or more times, instead copy it that many times plus an additional time. You can choose new targets for the additional copy, and then you can pay 7 and tap it to just copy an instant or sorcery spell. And then we have Twinning Glass, which is 4 mana for an artifact that says 1, tap it. You may play a non-land card. Okay, whenever I see the word play, I'm like, that's not what you mean. 1 and tap it. This is the Oracle. You may cast a spell from your hand without paying its mana cost if it has the same name as a spell that was cast this turn. Wow, this is very cool with Krark. Found something back up to your hand, and now it only costs 1 and a tap here with Twinning Glass. Obviously, not to mention Twinning Staff being just Krark's going to be caught. This is an automatic include with Krark. We're going to be copying stuff. Just copy it again. Really great.
Yeah, really fun. And like Twinning Glass, you're like, well, if most of our spells cost 1 anyway, what's the point of this? It's like, well, a lot of them, like you need green. It's like green. It's like, I'm out of green. It's like, okay, Twinning Glass lets me use a red one for that to like go that way. So like it does come in extremely handy.
I wonder if there's any ones that are even a little bit bigger at 2 or 3 that this might even be able to help out with as well.
It's true. It's true. Like this one, for example, Reality
A
Scramble.
Shanta Barris favorite.
I do love this card. 2 red for a sorcery. Put target permanent you own on the bottom of your library. Probably one of our dumb tokens. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a card that shares a card type with that permanent. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom in the random order. A lot of our creatures help fuel the engine, so I'm happy to upgrade a token into maybe another token maker, and so now we're just going gangbusters. This is a 4-mana sorcery, though. It sucks to fail these. It sucks to cast 4 and then it doesn't resolve. It comes back to hands like I can't afford to cast this a few times, but it does have retrace, so I can cast it from our graveyard by discarding a land instead of paying its mana cost. It's nice to have that option, and with a little bit of a discount going, this is a great one for Twinning Glass. I can just be like, okay, cool, I'll just try it again for 1.
When you cast this with retrace and Krark fails it, it doesn't go back to your hand? I imagine it does, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like I don't see why it wouldn't.
Yes, you would.
Yeah. So
Yes.
that's actually a bonus. That's great because
That's pretty cool.
because as great as retrace is, like you do need the land to do it, so this just makes it easier.
Okay, Andy, you're about to come onto a secret plan that this deck has been working towards.
Oh my god.
A secret bonus. Okay.
Okay. Traverse the Elvenwald. Okay, I know this card. Single green, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put in your hand, shuffle your library. Classic. Just like you were talking about those ones earlier. It's a great one to have. However, it also has Delirium. There are 4 more card types among cards in your graveyard. Instead, search your library for a creature or land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle your library. What are we going to get with Traverse the Elvenwald? Zada Grinder. 3 and a red. 3/3. Legendary Goblin Ally. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets only Zada, copy that spell for each other creature you control that the spell could target, and each copy targets a different one of those creatures. So
we don't. Krark doesn't matter. Like if we fail, Zada's still going to give 1 copy of those to every other creature we control.
Wow.
So we want to fail if Krark is on board with Zada.
Right, because then you get to just do it again, and you get to do it again.
Yeah.
Now, are these the things that we're going to use? We're going to cast on Zada. Let's do it.
Yeah. So of course we got your Shadow Rifts. This is a single blue instant. Target creature gains Shadow until end of turn. Draw a card. That's key. That's what these are. These are the single mana cantrippy spells, right? They're all going to draw a card, but they're all going to make our team amazing, right? So all our creatures have Shadow, which means they can't be blocked except by other Shadow creatures. Basically unblockable.
Yeah.
We've also got Viridescent Wisps. It's a single green for an instant. Target creature becomes green and gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Draw a card. And of course, Expedite, single red. Target creature gains haste until end of turn. Draw a card. So in all of these cases, like I like the haste ones because we're getting tokens and we're giving them haste that turn. But to do this actually gets a little bit dangerous where we're just like, I mean, we have the choice, like, okay, I'll try to cast it on Zada. It's like, well, it failed, but everyone except Zada gets +1/+0 and is green. Draw 11 cards. I'm like, okay. I better not target Zada too many more times with this because I can't afford to draw like 50 cards in a turn.
Yeah.
But it just ensures when you're ready to chain these effects together, you will absolutely hit them because this isn't a concentrated effect, but it's there enough. And I also love casting this early. If Zada's out, I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to, or if not Zada, if it's early and we don't have Zada,
right.
I'm happy to expedite a regular creature, draw a card, maybe Krark, like I get my triggers anyway. And if I succeed, I draw 2 cards off of the Krark copy. So like 1 mana draw 2 is pretty great.
Yeah, and it's like you said, small price to pay. Single mana if you fail it. It's like, well, it's not that bad. Like how many times in EDH are you just passing the turn with 2 or 3 mana up anyways, you know?
Yeah.
So good. This is very fun. Very cool stuff.
What a
here
fun
this week.
Yeah, this was a fun brew. I gotta say, thank you to everyone in the Discord who helped out. Mattismen, Seth, Pips Don't Lie, Nerds Flow, Chiefy, Neo Maxis, Safs, Werthers. If I miss anyone, I'm so sorry. The ideas and suggestions come out fast and furious, but what a fun brew this was. I had a blast, and I can't I really want to have this in real life. I really want to play this deck.
Yeah. It's like a weird, it's like a combination of a couple different styles of the decks. Like you can see like a storm element almost going on in here.
Well, you're absolutely right. Now, like this is what we were referring to in our last deck tech for your deck that we did last week. These new partners open up these ideas, but they're like this is one way to go. Like I decided to put the like secret Zada plan in here, but like obviously we don't have any actual that's a lie. Well, we have one storm card. It's the one that gives all your creatures +1/+0 until end of turn.
Okay.
So like that's just a good one for it.
Yeah.
But that's not the intended. It's not intended to be a storm deck. But of course, we could add in a 1,000-year storm to this and kind of lean on that ability and just do some shenanigans that way, like by changing 20% of the deck to take advantage of that. Easily an option we could do. The cool thing about effects like that, effects that copy spells, even if Krark fails, we get to copy the spell. So like another example where we want Krark to fail. I just didn't build anything for that 1,000-year storm to take advantage of. That's not where we went with this.
Yeah, you can definitely see that version. Like there's a lot of parts in here that would work well in that version too, right? Like
yeah, like you would want a sack outlet, because I bet you the spell that you want to go off with costs 4 or 5. So I would want to sack Krark before I tried to put that on the stack with my 1,000-year storm up to 10, because I wouldn't want to risk having to put that on the stack again.
But if you had a storm count that high with 1,000-year storm,
oh yeah, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, it wouldn't even matter. Like you would get one less, wouldn't you? But wouldn't you still get all the copies?
You get all the copies, but not the original cast.
You get it back in your hand. Like that's incredible with 1,000-year storm.
It actually is.
Actually what you like preparing for the fail, like you have shown us, is like it's actually I would want to do that. Like I have a deck that has 1,000-year storm, and then all I want to do is like somehow bounce the spell back to my hand and just keep casting like preordain, draw a million cards.
Yeah. Well, I know. I remember from an old Battle of the Brews, you showed us how powerful something like an Explore effect is, because copying that, you get those draws, but you're also now given 8 additional land drops for the turn. So you're like, sure,
Explore
I'll throw them in.
Absolutely broken with 1,000-year storm. Yeah. It's just,
Explore is in this deck, by the way.
As well, it should be. I mean, you draw the cards in every land. You just get to play them more, and then guess what? You get to play more spells off that. It's really great.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. Should we do the budget report?
Yeah,
Let's
I think
do the
it's
budget
probably about time to get in there. Looks like a reasonable price here, though. I'll say that.
Yeah, we can do low for like just over $50, and the mid comes in at about 112, 115, something like that. It's tough to figure out. I mean, it's tough to parse it, because sometimes TCG Player wants to sell you the new expensive Sol Ring, so I'm just like, I don't want that one. I just want the cheap one. So the most expensive card is uncuttable in my opinion. It's Krark's Thumb. 2 generic, the one you get to double flip. It's $15, $16.
Yeah, that's the thing. It spiked with Krark, I think, right? Like I think that
makes sense to me.
It makes sense. It's too bad. This expensive.
Yeah.
But oh well, what are you gonna do? And I'm so like I had this on my wish list for the thing. Like I should have I was going to buy this when it was $5 so long ago, and I just never got around to it.
Yeah.
I regret that now, obviously.
Yeah.
Another expensive one, Noxious Revival. We've talked about this one before. It's the single green Phyrexian mana instant. Put target card from your library on top of its owner's library. Sorry. Put target card from a graveyard on top of its owner's library. Obvious repercussions here, being able to draw cards and get things back quickly for no mana, essentially. Also, the paying the 2 life for the cast triggers is really incredible. So a lot of options here with this one. $10 card though. So I don't know.
Yeah, those frags, because you can cast them for free, like nothing on the board. These cards have proven to be broken in some ways, so they're all pretty expensive.
Yeah.
This one too, again, more mana means we can put spell in the stack even more. Braid of Fire, 1 and a red for an enchantment. It's got cumulative upkeep, but the cumulative upkeep is you add red to your mana pool. This card was invented when mana burn was a thing, so that was a drawback. You had to use it for instance in your upkeep, or else you don't get to do it. But we get to use it for instance in our upkeep over and over and over with Krark out there if we need to. So it's fine, but this one coming in at $10, I think you could cut this one. This deck is super fun, and a lot of our spells are not instants, right? And a lot of times we don't necessarily want to cast them during our upkeep, so like I'm okay cutting this. I think it's fine.
I keep forgetting that this card adds it in your upkeep and that it doesn't keep it there. For some reason I thought it like stayed in your mana pool, but it doesn't. So yeah, whatever. Primal Amulet is in here, getting up to $8 these days. Wow, that is more expensive than I thought I would ever see it, to be honest. 4 mana artifact, instant and sorcery spells you cast 1 less to cast, which is great. But and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you put a charge counter on it, and then if there's 4, you flip it, and the land it flips into is Primal Wellspring, which taps to add 1 mana of any color. And when that mana is spent to cast an instant or sorcery spell, you copy the spell. You can choose a new target. So, I mean, a great, obviously a great card for this deck, and really ties into all the themes and stuff. So, I mean,
you get the charges on it in no time.
Yeah.
And these copies can't fail. Like when you the copy will be on the stack, and it will remain on the stack, and it will resolve even if the original spell comes back to your hand because of Krark.
I would work hard to try and keep this in. I think this is a good one for this deck.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I think that this card is just fine in a lot of decks that look like it really wants it, but this one specifically, because you are casting so many spells, you are, like you said, you're gonna get there with the land in no time, and then it's really worth it, right? So yeah, really good. Wow, yeah, this is a fun one, and specifically, it's been fun being here, but it's also going to be fun to go over and check out what's happening at the Odric Awards.
Ooh, yes, let's get changed.
Here we are. We instantly got changed into our tuxes, and we look real great. There we go. Everything's fine. Sean, who do you see out there in the crowd this time?
Oh, Kira Knightley. Hello. Excellent to see you.
Oh wow, and it's also boxing legend George Foreman. Cool. Interesting.
Okay.
Didn't know you were coming. Really fan of your grills. Really big fan of your grills. Yeah.
Very fan. And Nylia.
Oh yes, of course. One magic person did show up. We did send the invite out to so many of them, but only Nylia came.
As always, the
yes.
Odrics are to award excellence in the area of magic cards. And this week is no different. We are about to present the award for Best Performance by a former holder of the Infinity Gauntlet. And that award goes to Beam Splitter Mage. Thanos, posing for Beam Splitter Mage. Best performance by a former holder of the Infinity Gauntlet.
Congratulations, Beam Splitter Mage. There he is. Looks like maybe this was a time when he was working the Reality Stone with all that red electricity going on there.
Yeah.
Definitely this is Thanos, though, no question about it. Thank you, Josh Brower.
For those that don't know, Beam Splitter Mage is a blue-red 2/2 Godolphin Wizard. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets only Beam Splitter Mage, if you control one or more other creatures that spell could target, choose one of those creatures, copy the spell. The copy targets the chosen creature.
Pretty good. I'll take it.
Mini Zada.
That's it for this week, though. Congratulations, Beam Splitter Mage, for winning your award. And congratulations to everyone for seeing the Odric Awards.
Yes. Get home safe, everybody.
You've seen another one. That'll do it for this week. Here at Commander's Brew, we will see everyone next week with a brand new deck and everything from us. So we'll see you then.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCG Player affiliate link below.
That helps us out too. And for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.